The most famous of all Borno rulers was Mai Idris Alooma, who ruled from 1572 to 1603 AD, under whose illustrious reign Borno reached the zenith of its power. Yet he was lucky to live long enough to become the ruler of the Kanem-Bornu Empire. Just before his birth, his father Ali was killed in a battle against the Bulala, and the next two Mais, Dunama and Abdullah, both plotted against the life of the young prince. He survived only because of the determination and political skills of a remarkable woman, the Magira Aisha. She shielded him from all danger, and about 1562 AD, she secured the regency of Borno until Idris Alooma should come of age. For 10 years, she governed wisely and trained Idris Alooma in the duties of Islamic kingship. To shield him from the intrigue and vices of the court, she brought him up in the new and beautiful Kanem-Bornu palace, built a safe distance away from Ngasagam. The young prince Idris grew into a man of remarkable ability and character. He was a natural leader of the men, imposing in physical appearance and the ability to win the confidence and respect of his subjects. A pious Muslim, he had absolute faith that God controlled his destiny, and this steadfast religious conviction made him resolute in enforcing Islamic reform within the empire and completely fearless in battle. At times, the unwavering courage of this great conqueror turned imminent defeat for the Kano forces into victory. Yet, the secret of his political success lay as much in his administrative gift as in his fatalistic resolution. Much of Borno's success under Idris Alooma was achieved by war. Although he was well served by able commanders, it was Idris Alooma himself who was the leader and architect of Kano's victories. During the 330 campaigns of his reign, he developed into a master of strategy who is quick to seize upon any tactical error of the enemy, making great demands upon the energies and courage of his men. He never pushed them beyond the limits of their endurance. If sudden victory eluded him, he resorted to siege warfare or to the systematic devastation of an area to deprive his foes of food and water. His forces on the march were compelled to erect stockades around their encampment as a precaution against surprise attacks and pilfering by local scavengers. Idris Alooma neglected nothing that could contribute to the military success of Borno. He became the first Sudanic ruler to import firearms from North Africa, and he hired Turkish musketeers to train his soldiers in the effective use of these revolutionary weapons. Yet he realized that mountain warriors must continue to provide the main shock troops of Kano's offensive. Accordingly, he encouraged his war chiefs to increase the numbers of horses and camels at their disposal to strengthen the Kano's war machines in both the savannas and the deserts. To facilitate the transport of his army across the waterways of the Chad Basin, a fleet of large boats capable of carrying great numbers of troops and their animals were constructed. By these means, Idris Alooma increased both the mobility and the striking capacity of his army. Idris Alooma's military was dictated by dynastic, imperial and religious ambition. He set out to consolidate the Safavid power over a system part of the Kanem-Bornu Empire, to expand imperial frontiers so that the greater revenue and wealth would accrue to the Borno through plunder, increased tribute and control of trade routes to North Africa, and welded his territory into a united and Islamic state. The extent of his success was great in Borno. Within Borno itself, he reduced the fortress of Damasak and other semi-independent sole city-states. Around the frontier, he drove the anti-Muslim Tetala into the fastness of Lake Chad with the aid of the Kotoko people. He subjugated the troublesome Ingizim people on the southwest frontier, He crushed the rebellion of the Tronculate Magi and he forced the Mandara people to restore a deposed ruler and acknowledge his overlordship. Kanuri's power was reasserted over northern Hausa land by a campaign that mastered all the strongholds of Kano except Dala itself. Thus, the Kanuri were able to raid and exact tribute across Hausa land at will. The main obstacles to the expansion of Kanuri were the Bulala of Kanem and the Tuaregs of air. Neither was easy to defeat because of the problem of water supply and difficulty of forcing the enemy into decisive engagement. In Kanem, he supported the rival to the usurping Sultan Abdul al-Jalil, who was a determined enemy of Borno and who sought control of several towns along the Kanem-Bornu borders, which had been ceded to Borno by treaty. Several arduous campaigns and much torturous diplomacy were necessary before Idris Alooma broke the power of Abdul al-Jalil and annexed the part of Kanem to Borno. The conflict between Borno and Tuaregs was a struggle for control of the trade route to Tripoli. Idris Alooma had conquered the Tidal center of Bilma, an important salt producing and market center in the Trans-Saharan route. The Tuaregs, concerned with establishing the economic supremacy of Agades over Bilma, proved stubborn foes capable of inflicting defeat on the Kanuri. Finally, the Kanuri, with the aid of Arabs mercenary, wore down Tuareg resistance and forced them to recognize Idris Alooma as their overlord. Idris Alooma saw the spread of Islam as a religious duty and a political necessity. His pious conduct set an example of his subjects and encouraged strict adherence to the tenets of Islam. He stamped out immorality in Ngazagamo, forbade the enslavement of Muslims captured in war, and saw that even his armies on the march punctuously observed prayers time. On his pilgrimage to Mecca, he paid for the construction of a hotel for Kanuri pilgrims in the holy city itself and within Borno. He replaced the thatched mosque and others built of burnt bricks in the North African style. Idris Alooma is said to have converted all the ruling classes within his empire to Islam and to have ruled in accordance with Islamic political theory. To ensure that Islamic law was genuinely applied in a trial of civil and criminal cases, he appointed Muslim Qadis to the courts of local chiefs. This saw that judgments and penalties were those approved by Muslim law and were not based on customary or arbitrary procedures. Thus, by the time of Idris Alooma's death, Borno had developed most of the features of an Islamic state, even though the common people's customary religion were far from destroyed. We are fortunate that Idris Alooma's Imam, Ahmad ibn Fatwa, wrote a chronicles of the early years of Alooma's reign, as it enables us to evaluate the caliber of the most remarkable Sevawa rulers of Borno. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get the upcoming videos faster. You can also do well to follow us on all our social media pages as we post daily historical facts, summed from a series of research all over the world. Thanks again.